Good afternoon. Welcome to KTN Newsdesk. My name is Edith Kimani. This is the show where we bring you the news as it happens. Let's not waste more time. Let's get to it. And we begin with tragic news from Narok, where 10 people are feared dead after consuming illicit liquor in Suswa area of Narok County. Now, residents reported deaths of those who consumed the drinks this morning, and it is believed all the victims drank from the same drinking joint. Now, police have launched investigations, with residents currently protesting along the Narok-Maimahiu road against laxity by law enforcers to curb illegal drinking dens. More than 200 travelers have been marooned in Lodwar in Turkana County after River Kawalasee burst its banks. The travelers, residents and school-going children were forced to spend the night on higher ground. The flood and heavy downpour has paralyzed transport along Lodwar, Kakma, Kalokol and Lokichogio route. Now, this is the second time the seasonal river has burst its banks, and residents are now urging the county government to build a bridge across. This morning, after waiting for hours, the river started subsiding and vehicles and motorcyclists were finally able to start crossing. Those with vehicles, however, have been forced to leave their vehicles behind. The International Criminal Court will later today deliver a ruling that would make or break the case against Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. Trial Chamber 5B will rule on whether the prosecution should be allowed to adduce new evidence to prove that key witnesses have been bribed or intimidated to drop their evidence against Ruto and Sang. The chamber will make the ruling just before starting to hear evidence of one of the witnesses, which will be relayed from Nairobi via video link to the court in The Hague. This will be the first time the court will be receiving such evidence from witnesses number 604. The office of the prosecutor has applied to be allowed to use the new evidence against any witnesses who will fail to testify in the courtroom or those who openly disown their testimonies on the 2007-2008 post-election violence.
Joshua Arap Sang, ICC.
The Editors Guild are expressing dissatisfaction with the bill that was introduced in Parliament by Eldas Member of Parliament Aidan Kainan. The bill, according to this organization, seeks to muzzle the media and stifle public expression in regard to performance and conduct of members of Parliament. They do say that Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Bill 2014, in light of its oppressive stipulations, is a precursor to parliamentary dictatorship and a deliberate attempt to run away from accountability.
We are indeed very alarmed and disturbed by the bill fronted by Elders MP Aidan Kainan in the guise of making provisions under Article 117 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that purports to, among other things, to deny the supervisory powers of the courts to scrutinize the constitutionality and legality of the proceedings and decisions of Parliament. We are also alarmed and very disturbed by the provisions of the said bill which purport to do away with the constitutionally guaranteed right of the media and the people of Kenya to question and scrutinize the proceedings and decisions of Parliament. We ask Parliament not to consider and pass the bill in question so long as it contains the said offensive provisions.
This is a very dangerous bill for us, especially the media fraternity. But I'm also fearful if Parliament starts this trend, we are likely to see the same trend being replicated in the county governments. If you remember very well, I think it's chapter 10 or chapter 11 on devolution gives the public and the media the right to access and cover proceedings and participate. It is under the same provisions and the same rights that Parliament is trying to limit. So it's setting a pace for the county governments. They might use it as a reference to develop their own laws that will govern participation within county governments.
Old friends and former employees continue to reminisce on their experiences while working with retired President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi after he celebrated his 90th birthday. Former Cabinet Minister Matthews Onyango Midika gave KTN a glimpse into the Moi he knew while participating in active politics from the 1970s to the 90s. Fredo Mulo gives us the story.
And that is that door.
For Matthews Midika, life in the 1970s was a gamble for politicians who dared question the regime's orientation. Joining Parliament in 1974 to represent Nyando constituency, he quickly identified the quiet Vice President Moi as a force to reckon with, the polar opposite of the reigning KANU party hawks.
He was a mild MP, but knew a lot. All I learned is that Moi knew so much, but he never showed until he became the Vice President.
But Midika and his friends in the august house still spoke out against wrongs they identified in government before and after Moi became president, earning him a place among the 7 bearded sisters. Despite all this, Moi still maintained a link with him, eventually elevating him to his cabinet.
Moi was a very active man, and he wanted people who are active. And at the same time, he wanted people with foresight. Moi had a lot of foresight. He might have used it rightly or wrongly, but he had foresight.
His years working with the president became the busiest in his life as he tried to keep up with his ever-energetic boss. But amidst all the activity was a simple man who liked the company of Kenyans across the entire country.
He would even want to eat with ordinary people. That was another thing about Moi. You know, you would eat in DZ on the road with people, and buy maembe and chew it with people. That was very close. He made people think it's very, very close to them.
It was natural.
He was so natural in his behavior.
Now in his 80s, Midika continues to live an active life as a farmer, content with the services he delivered to his country.
If you visit Moi, if you are a glutton, somebody who eats so much, you'll die. Because Moi will give you so much food that you know. When you visit Moi in the morning, the first thing you take very good porridge, then tea, then milk, then roast meat. Oh my Lord. Well, he was the president, he could afford this, but how many presidents can afford and don't give?
Fredo Mulo, KTN, Kisumu City.
The next story is one that we're keeping a close eye on. It's the story of a 10-year-old Liberian pupil who has been admitted at Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital in Nakuru after showing symptoms of the deadly Ebola virus. Now, according to the hospital, Joshua Saka was referred to Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital from Valley Hospital, where he had been taken from Greenstead's International School. The minor had a headache, fever and vomiting when he sought medication at the school's dispensary, prompting the school nurse to refer him to the referral hospital. It is alleged that the minor and his mother had tried to enter Kenya through JKIA, but were allegedly denied entry at the airport 9 days ago. They then headed to Burundi and managed to fly into the country on Monday. Samples from the minor have been taken to Kenya Medical Research Institute for testing, with results being expected on Thursday. The minor and the school nurse have been quarantined at the hospital's eye unit until the results are back. There has been no case of Ebola in the country, but the government last month banned entry of passengers from Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea. According to the World Health Organization, over 1,900 people have died from the deadly virus since the outbreak in West Africa. Another 3,500 infections have been confirmed. Well, the country waits to see what the results of that test will be, obviously hoping for the best. Elsewhere, Bondo MP Gideon Ochanda and his predecessor Oburu Oginga have taken court signature collection drive to their home turf as the coalition prepares for a possible referendum on its Saba resolutions. The two legislators have poured cold water on the Jubilee government efforts to prevent a referendum from ward representatives who are demanding more funds and autonomy. The government earlier this week offered members of county assemblies car grants and offices in exchange for their opposing CORD and the Council of Governors referendum bids in what observers have described as an attempt to bribe the local leaders to stave off plebiscites.
We have already registered more than 2,000 and this is just a launching. The registration is going to go to the locations. The locations will start tomorrow and it will go on for just I think less than 3 days, because the books we have here are only for about 8,000 signatures.
Kenya is the second most competitive economy, and that's in East Africa, rising 6 places to position 91. Now, this is according to the Global Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index released on Wednesday. In second place, Kenya's improved performance is attributed to better access to financing, infrastructure, improved capacity to innovate, and an educated workforce, as well as technological readiness. However, the most problematic factors for doing business in Kenya are corruption, high tax rates, inflation, restrictive labor and tax regulations, increased crime and terror that have affected foreign investment. Kenya comes second after Rwanda, followed by Tanzania, Uganda and Burundi, and that is the latest competitive economy in East Africa. However, aside from Rwanda, all other East African countries, including Kenya, are among the 30 least competitive economies. More than 150 hosted buyers from over 30 countries from key tourism source markets around the world are expected in the country next month to grace a 4th magical Kenya Travel Expo. Now, the Kenya Tourism Board says that more than 100 local and international exhibitors have booked space in the Expo to be held from the 8th to the 10th of October 2014 at KICC. The tourism marketing body has signed a 14 million shilling contract with the Standard Group to be the media sponsor for the 3-day event. The Expo comes at a time Kenya's tourism sector is experiencing its worst year. Travel advisories, tried products and a lack of proper tourism marketing plan have all worked against a sector that is now seeking to correct itself. At the coast, for instance, hotels are operating at 20% capacity, with some having to close down completely. Through the Expo, KTB will be wooing travel agents and tourists from key source markets, as well as keeping an eye on emerging markets in Asia and Africa. Now, despite recording low business due to security threats and travel advisories, KTB says Kenya is still attracting high-quality tourists from various world market segments.
This is the 4th edition of the Magical Kenya Travel Expo, and basically it's an event that will be having hosted buyers coming to Kenya to experience the diversity of the tourism product, and also to see for themselves that Kenya is really indeed ready and good to do business with. We have about 150 hosted buyers coming from about 30 different countries, and these are from the key source markets of Europe, the US or the Americas, from Africa, from Asia, and from other emerging markets like the Middle East. Now, our plan is to have between the 1st and 7th of October, they go around the entire country, different parts of the country from north, east, west and south. They see for themselves that indeed Kenya is a safe destination, Kenya is a good product for them to sell, and also Kenya is ready to do good business. Then 8th to 10th of October is when we'll have the Expo at KICC, Kenyatta International Convention Center. And during the Expo, we'll also have our own buyers, our own trade. That's the tour operators, hoteliers, media, parastatals, and also county governments exhibiting their or showcasing their ware, and then they'll mingle on a B2B basis with the hosted buyers. And this is from 8th to 10th of October.